Dear students, let us start the discussion on today's newspaper, that is 18 September 2017. The first article, Narmada Dam built despite attempts to stop it, says Prime Minister. So Narmada Dam was considered as pride of Gujarat. It was an interstate dispute between Gujarat, Madhya Pradesh, Maharashtra and Rajasthan. So there is a lot of submergence in Madhya Pradesh. There is no proper rehabilitation work is taken up. Supreme Court has clearly stated that, or it has permitted the Narmada Dam, but it also said the rehabilitation has to be taken care of. Due to effort of the Narmada Bachao Andolan, led by Medha Patkar, the government has provided to an extent rehabilitation, but still it is not complete. In June, government has announced it is closing the gates for the Narmada Dam, and there was a huge resistance across the civil society for the same. But if you see by and large, across the world, the era of the big dams is ending. So, more and more small dams, these are considered to be essential. So, due to submergence and other factors, it is stated that greenhouse gases will be initiated. There are also scientific proofs that big dams will cause earthquakes. So these factors, if we take into consideration, how far the benefits are viable can only be judged by the future generations. Manmohan panel asked to help resolve Kashmiri row. Now this is a constructive role played by the opposition. Manmohan on Kashmiri policy is visiting all the stakeholders in Kashmir and is also about to visit in Ladakh. So the objective here is to build a common ground to bring all the stakeholders to dialogue. 6 high courts don't have regular chief justices. This clearly shows the status of judiciary in India. The previous chief justice, in presence of the prime minister, has clearly stated that the judiciary is crumbling under pressure. It has no sufficient human resources, Mr. Thakur. So this is a clear reflection of that. The High Court is the head of the state judiciary. In spite of this, most of these are running under temporary solutions. India under US pressure to scale down ties with North Korea. So the North Korea is repeatedly testing its weapons, and Shinzo Abe during his visit, India has clearly stated that North Korea has to shut down its nuclear and military establishments, nuclear and missile establishments. In this context, US is asking all the countries to scale down their relations with North Korea, including India. Now, regarding reading the tea leaves. So here, the article is about changing geopolitics across the world. Now, Mr. Rakesh Sood's articles, they provide you a clear understanding of the topic. He gives backgrounds very clearly. Now, if you see, geopolitics are shifting from Euro-Atlantic to Indo-Pacific. So it means Asia is going to be the major center for the geopolitics in the future. So in this context, let us understand few points. The China wants to be the helm of the affairs in this geopolitical change, and it expects other countries to make space for its growth. This is the new assertive China of Jinping, which is very much different from Deng Xiaoping's era. So the Deng has clearly stated, hide your strength, bide your time, and never claim leadership. This is not the case with the present day Jinping's China. So he has given two guides. So these two guides clearly states that China shall be at the helm of affairs in creating the new world order, and China shall provide for international security. As America is vacating its space under President Trump, stating America First policy, it clearly shows that the China wants to take up that particular space. It is trying to bring in new institutions such as New Development Bank, Asian Infrastructure Investment Bank, and also it is providing for infrastructure trade networks such as Belt and Road Initiative to claim its leadership across the world. And second aspect of this is China's rise obviously is going to disturb the balance of power in Asia. So a new axis is developing in this particular situation. One is India-Japan axis. So this India-Japan axis is also being strengthened because of the support from United States of America. Japan was under the umbrella of United States security cover, and under the Trump, Japan feels very insecure about the future. And second thing is the Japan and India's axis. It is also getting a wider dimension as it is getting deeper with regard to strategic and economic relations. We can tell this based on few points over here. The Malabar exercises, these are extended to the Japan. It means Japan is also a participant of the Malabar exercises now. India is importing certain ships from Japan, Shinmai Way. And third thing is, India-Japan now conducts annual summits at the prime ministerial level and their partner Special Strategic and Global Partnership. And under this Special Strategic and Global Partnership, they have 40 billion fund to develop the infrastructure across the countries. 2+2 dialogue is also initiated at the foreign minister and defense minister levels. But any strategic relation can only stand if it has economic dimension too. On economic front, India-Japan trade is just $15 billion. On the other side, Japan and China relationship trade is around $500 billion. So India also has to strengthen its trade with Japan. So this is what the article talks about. Irrationalism in city planning. It is about new upcoming city in Amaravati. That is now irrationalism in city planning. This article is about new upcoming city Amaravati as capital of Andhra Pradesh. So Japanese architect Maki, he was the lead planner before. Now it was given to a UK company. And the UK company was asked to meet various film directors to provide for a cultural perspective to this. So in this context, the project is getting delayed further. So there is opaqueness, accountability is missing, and there is no professionalism in conducting this particular activity. That's what this article tries to say. The next article is time for caution. Now, you all know this, the balance of payments. It means the economic relations of India across the world, how much we have to pay, how much we shall receive from them. This all comes under the balance of payments. So in this there are two accounts, current account, capital account. So the current account is a trade account and capital account, it is investments and debt account. So India's current account, the trade account, is negative. It has crossed 2.4%. and it is the highest in the last 4 years. On the other hand, capital account is surplus and we have the highest forex reserves now, that is $400 billion. It's all-time high. From where we are getting that? We FDIs, foreign direct investments, and portfolio investments, and also debt, external debt. Now, in this FDI, yes, it's a good investment and it has longevity, but portfolio investments, they can fly by night. So when that investment gets greater opportunity in other part of the world, this investment immediately fly to the other regions. So in this context, these two are high with regard to our capital account. India need to be cautious. If this gap is widening and we are supporting this gap from the capital account surplus, there will be a time where BOP crisis can be set in for India. India has to boost its export to reduce the current account deficit. And finally, what I can say is this. The capital account surplus cannot be a long-term future. The reason being, United States Fed, if it raises the interest rates, then obviously the flight of the capital is inevitable. So that's the reason why India shall not depend much on the capital account further. Now, let's get into the open-end page. So here, subsidiarity principle. So this principle of subsidiarity is very much important to our local governments. What it says is, the work shall be done close to the citizen. It means the government close to the citizen can deliver the better work rather than centralization in democracy. So Mr. French philosopher De Tocqueville has stated this in the case of in explaining the American democracy. And the subsidiarity principle is very much important for reorganizing the local government in India. And the next is decoding the shell companies. The shell companies, these are unused companies registered with the registrar of companies to conduct various money laundering operations. Normally, shell companies are seen as against the law, but our Companies Act do not have any specific provisions related to shell companies. A company, if it is not conducting operations, then it has to write to the company or else registrar of the companies to keep it at dormant state. So, if it is dormant, then it will not be erased from the registrar of companies. If not, the government has all the right to erase the shell companies from the registrar of companies. That is what this article talks about. In the last page, I gave you the notes. Notes is available at laix.in/civilsprep. Thank you very much. All the best.